I don't know why we didn't have 2 or 3 companies, and I know I've asked this before to y'all, and you said that they didn't do this whole package as this company does, but I'm sure these people have been in business 4 years. I'm sure there's other people out there that do this, and I just don't know why we just jumped on this one bandwagon. But I'm agreeing. I got on their website and looked at some stuff, and some of the things they brought in, they're all over the country where they brought in a lot of Dick's Sporting Goods, trying to pull it up where it's sleeping and right down. There's a lot, it wasn't any big stuff, but it's stuff that probably fit in East Ridge, had shrimp basket. We should bring them in here. But, you know, it's,
Go ahead.
but I mean, if you had something that you could bring us to show for the meetings over or something, we'd lose.
Let me reconfirm with the council my role, and I won't use the analogy about grain and so on, but my job is to tell y'all the downside, the potential problems of any agreement, any arrangement like this. It's not to blow smoke and tell you how good this is. It's to tell you what conceivably could go wrong. May never go wrong, but you need to vote. You need to determine these things based on a fully informed understanding.
I mean, if that's what will be in the contract, that's what we need to do.
It's true.
No, but he's got it.
Okay.
How true.
We will. Well, I'm not, my recollection, maybe someone could pull up the resolution we voted on the last time. I think what we had voted on was for the city manager to execute the contract. And, I don't think it needs to come back before this body to be approved. Well, I'm just telling you what the resolution said that was voted on. You may disagree, that's.
Which contract is he going
We've got 2 contracts, which one?
for? I hadn't seen.
The resolution simply stated for the city manager to execute a contract, an agreement with Retail Strategy. I think if he's comfortable, I'm fine. I would move to, and I don't think it's necessary, but I'll do it anyway. I'll move to, accept this contract with the timeline attached. That they would perform certain functions at a specified time. So I would put that out in the form of a motion.
Could you repeat that, please?
I mean, I don't think we have to vote on it, but just as an affirmation of what we have here, I'll move to,
I think, from a legal basis, I don't think the authorization was given for the city managers to just sign anything. I think it contemplated a reasonable, acceptable contract. And I think I recall the word acceptable being used in the source of the discussion. Now, whether the resolution specifically said that,
I think we attached the stipulation that it needed to, okay.
for example,
Janet has, just a minute. Okay.
For example, if it came back with personal guarantees of all 5 members of the council or something, certainly that would be unacceptable. Again, I just understood that the resolution contemplated acceptable negotiation of a contract.
Well, then you're going to get into acceptable by whom? Acceptable by the city manager, acceptable by the mayor, since they're technically the only 2 in this city that can execute a contract. If it's acceptable to them,
But you still got, if I'm not mistaken,
Council has already approved an agreement to enter into an agreement with Retail Strategies. But you didn't vote for it. You didn't vote for it. And I understand that. I understand that. That's what I'm saying. You didn't vote for it. But the council did. But the council did.
You entered into an agreement, you said it actually, absolutely correctly, Mayor. You entered into an agreement with Retail Strategies.
Authorizing the city manager to execute an agreement with Retail Strategies for market analysis, strategic planning, and retail recruitment. So that, in other words, that tells me that we authorized the city manager to execute the contract.
I withdraw my motion.
And the contract has been signed by them.
So, I mean, I think that's where we are.
I'm reading the rest of it, so just bear with me. I'm reading all the comments. Vice Mayor McGravitt made a motion, seconded by Councilmember Sewell, to approve resolution number 2453, pending the addendum to the contract for the cancellation policy.
Which is the 1 year opt-out, that is in the contract. So, Thad is back there making copies of the timeline. I'm sure he will distribute that to everyone.
You want to roll on
Yes, I think we're going to move on. And Mr. Cagle said he was
Yeah,
finished.
I may not.
So, right. All right, we'll go on to new business. Item A, ordinance 986, public hearing. Having been properly advertised, we will open this public hearing. This is on the ordinance of the City Council of the City of East Ridge to amend the zoning regulations of the zoning map of the City of East Ridge, Tennessee, to rezone the property located at 503 Frawley Road from R1 Residential District and A1 Agricultural District to RZ1 Zero Lot Line Residential District. This is, that ordinance will be before us on first reading tonight. But that is what this public hearing is for. If anyone is here to speak in opposition to ordinance 986, this will be your opportunity to come forward to one of the microphones here at the front, state your name and address for the record. I see none. We will now entertain communication from those who are here in support of ordinance 986. Again, if you will come forward to one of the microphones here at the front, state your name and address for the record.
Thank you, Council. Mike Price, MAP Engineers, representing the owner, Jay Desai. This is a 45 approximate acre site. It is proposed to have 88 single-family homes. That would be a density of roughly 1.8 units per acre, which is a low density rate. The homes in here will be selling in the $220,000 range and above. There are two specific conditions that are related to this rezoning. One, that all of the lots be 62 feet wide, and that the density was limited to 88 units, if I'm not mistaken, out of that. There will be about 48% of this property will be community property. Much of that is in the back. There's plans to build a lake back there in the back that the residents of this community will be able to enjoy. As a point of reference, on the 62 feet, when the lot is on a road that is a tangent section, the width of the lot is 62 feet. If it's in a radius, the 62 feet is actually measured 25 feet back from the right-of-way line where the building setback is. So that's just a point of reference or clarification there as far as that goes. But it did receive unanimous approval of the Planning Commission, and we think project that, once again, is indicating the growth in East Ridge is coming, and we believe this is quality growth that y'all can be proud of. If there's any questions, we'd be happy to answer those.
I see none.
Thank you so much for your time.
Is there anyone else here who would like to speak in support of this rezoning ordinance number 986? I see none. With that, we will close this public hearing. Thank you very much. We will move on to consideration of ordinance 986, item B.
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of East Ridge, Tennessee, amend the zoning regulations of the zoning map of the City of East Ridge, Tennessee, to rezone the property located at 503 Frawley Road from R1 Residential District and A1 Agricultural District to the RZ1 Zero Lot Line Residential District, here on first reading.
Make motion to approve.
Approve ordinance 986 due to the, Mr. Kenny Custer approved it.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve ordinance 986. Any comments or questions? And this was, in fact, recommended for approval by staff.
Right. Ordinance with it.
Right. Exactly. Roll call, please.
Vice Mayor Griffin.
Yes.
Councilmember Cagle.
Yes.
Councilmember Manning.
Yes.
Councilmember Stoll.
Yes.
Mayor Lambert.
Yes. Ordinance 986 is approved. Move on to item C, ordinance 987.
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of East Ridge, Tennessee, to amend ordinance number 971 entitled, an ordinance to provide revenue for the City of East Ridge, Tennessee, for fiscal year July 1st, 2014 to June 30th, 2015, appropriating the same to the payment of expenses of the municipal government by changing revenues of the grant fund and capital improvement fund, and designating a portion of the fund balance of the general fund as State Street Aid Fund, and changing expenditures for the general fund, State Street Aid Fund, grant fund, and capital improvement fund, here on first reading.
Mayor, members of the council, the budget amendment before you would do several things, and going down the list pretty quickly, the sale of land's been moved, and we'll look at that between this reading and the next based on the comments we've received, and present that alternative to the council at the next meeting. But the sale of land having been moved to the capital improvement fund, and as a revenue item in the general fund. As far as expenditure items, we discussed in general government how health claims came in greater last year than some of the previous years. They're down a little bit this year from last year, which is a positive. That's some positive news we just received. However, that did mean that we were somewhat under budget, and going throughout the year, we didn't see any more increases after that big increase, but it became apparent that by the end of the year in 3 months, we will be over in that cost center or in that function under general government. So we've added $35,000 there. We feel like that should cover our remaining insurance payments between now and then. We included the $20,000 for the fence and parks and recreation. It's being offset by the dollars that anticipated $30,000 in revenues that were budgeted previously. In economic development, we moved, but the revenue that is being kept in for the sale of land as of this time is being moved to economic development for payment of the contract in this fiscal year with Retail Strategies. Under State Street Aid, council directed staff to purchase an excavator with State Street Aid funds. That expenditure shows the grant fund. We have matched a expenditure revenue item there for $15,000 for equipment that could go towards education, for accident prevention, and then it's a 100% grant where we'll be reimbursed for the money spent. And then in the capital improvement fund, of course, we're showing the revenue, the transfer in from the general fund for that $513,000 remaining from the sale of the pool property. And then there's almost $10,000 for a piece of equipment for the
fire department, and that's the camera, that thermal imaging camera that the council voted on at the previous meeting, so we wanted to make sure to get that in there as well. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer those at this time.
This $15,000, is that the grant that we voted on at the last council meeting?
Yes, sir.
And what we are putting the budget to 216 for next year's budget? So we're going to get it in this year's budget?
I believe that grant will be available at the end of this fiscal year.
Okay.
Okay, we will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve, do we have a second? We have a second? Any comments or questions? Roll call, please.
Councilmember Griffith,
Yes.
Councilmember Cagle,
Yes.
Councilmember Manning,
Yes.
Councilmember Stoll,
Yes.
Mayor Lambert.
Yes. Ordinance 987 is approved. Item D, resolution number 2471.
A resolution of the City Council of the City of East Ridge, Tennessee, adopting a community service program for nonviolent offenders.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second? We're a second, okay.
All right, I've noticed here he's got DUI first offense, $168. Is that the restoration fee, or is that just the $56 times 3 days worth of service?
It's 56 times 3 days of service.
Judge, if you don't mind.
I think if you look at the DUI statute, that for the DUI is set by statute what they have to pay to register. That covers all 3 days. It's a one-time payment of $148.
How about all other charges, shoplifting and such,
That's
$45?
It's $45. It's a one-time.
All right, so the maximum happens for 3 days on the DUIs and.
There's not a maximum. There's not a maximum on others. Generally, it's 5 days, 10 days. Rarely do they go
Should
over
go,
that.
I mean, it could go 56 times 5 or.
No, it's just, they only pay the one time. They
Per
pay,
day is what's got me confused here. And then you just said 5 days.
that's just on the DUI is the one-time fee of the $165. That's they come in, they pay that, they have to pay that to work for free.
And they've got to do it 3 days.
And they do it for 3 days, but they only pay the fee one time. And on any other charge, they pay the fee one time, which is $45 to go work however many days for free.
All this comes to the city,
Right.
not the courts.
Part of that, and I just feel confused when you said $55, $56 per day. And then I see restoration fees down here, so.
That's how
That
it
answers my
works.
question.
And this is, it's the same fees that Sessions Court charges.
It does, it answers my question, I just wondered.
Your Honor,
Yes, sir.
I would have to say one thing. I like to shoot.
Understandably, by intervening, I can't quite get there. Mine are not wide.
And Your Honor, I did not mean that in a hateful way, I meant in a great way.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council, we do have a system set up, ready to go just as soon as, hopefully, should this pass tonight, we'll be ready to go Tuesday, Judge, and we will put this in place beginning on Wednesday.
All right.
Are you talking about next week? I'll be out there.
Mm-hmm. Okay, anything else?
I'll be back for about some.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Griffith,
Yes.
Councilmember Cagle,
Yes,
Councilmember Manning,
Yes.
Councilmember Stoll,
Yes.
Mayor Lambert.
Yes. Resolution 2471 is approved. Item E, resolution 2472.
A resolution of the City Council of the City of East Ridge authorizing a loan pursuant to a loan agreement between the City of East Ridge, Tennessee and the Public Building Authority of the City of Clarksville, Tennessee, in the principal amount of not to exceed $1,600,000, authorizing the execution and delivery of such loan agreement and other documents relating to said loan, approving the issuance of a bond by the Public Building Authority, providing for the application of the proceeds of said loan and the payment of such indebtedness, and consenting to the assignment of the city's obligation under such loan agreement and certain other matters.
Mayor, council, the city has proposed refinancing the ban, and we've talked about converting that over the last couple of meetings. And I just wanted to point out, based on the questions by a couple of members and another individual, the amount is based on the following. We're refinancing the bond anticipation note, which was initially taken out at $2 million to finance various capital projects and improvements. The city paid debt service on that over the last 3 years, $100,000 per year, and state law requires that when you refinance or have a refunding or refinancing bond, that you amortize that bond for 1 year. And in this case, that's another $100,000. And that's what brings that amount to $1.6 million. So we do have an individual here, this is Steve, is here for the municipal bond fund. Steve, if you want to come up to answer any questions that the council may have. The bond fund is working with us on converting the ban to a refunding bond, and they've been great to work with as usual.
Some questions that I had some phone calls on today was about Clarksville, Tennessee. What is?
It's a Clarksville, Tennessee. Actually, we do city and county both, and we use the PBAs in respective Montgomery County and Clarksville as a conduit vehicle to issue the debt through. Does that make sense? Kind of?
They were just wondering what, if we were borrowing money from Clarksville, Tennessee.
No.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Any comments or questions?
Is this going to end up into another balloon note in 2035? Or is it going to be paid off then?
It's 20 years. It'll be paid off 35.
Okay. And I know what answer I'm going to get on this, but it says that we as a council as a whole here approve. The city, however, indicated it is a draft resolution, its intent. Met the requirements of state funding board's blanket exemption for approval adopted at its December the 16th, 2014 meeting. Folks, we didn't have a meeting that day. And this has come from the comptroller's office. Back here on the back, this letter's come from state and local general law. I'm assuming from them.
State local finance is a
Right.
division of the comptroller's office.
And it's stated back here the same day.
I think what that represents is the fact that when the legislation was passed by the state legislature, and part of this is an ongoing, continuing disclosure to make it more, I guess, reader-friendly to the end user, which is this body or bodies like this. I think that states they took action and put mechanisms in place to facilitate what the state legislature did. The state legislature passed a blanket bill in conjunction with the comptroller's office and state and local finance. They kind of put structure to the bill to make it work. I believe the dates you're looking at are the dates that they actually took action, not the dates this council took action.
Do we have any other comments or questions? Roll call, please.
Councilmember Griffin.
Yes.
Councilmember Cagle.
Yes.
Councilmember Manning.
Yes.
Councilmember Sewell.
Yes.
Mayor Lambert.
Yes. Resolution 2417 is approved. Thank you, sir, for being here. All right. That's all that we have on our agenda for this evening. Hope everyone has a good evening.
I'd like to go back to the retail strategies. And I'd like to have an opinion from the city attorney. There's a resolution that was passed where it says authorizing the city manager to execute an agreement with retail strategies. Does that or does that not? Does that need to be brought back before this body for another vote? Or with this vote, does that read that we've already authorized him to execute the contract, therefore we don't need to vote on it?
My opinion is, I think the language of the resolution is ambiguous, and in an abundance of caution, I thought the specific agreement needed to be voted on, because nobody sitting here knew the terms of the specific agreement, as we sat here at the last meeting. But certainly, the implication is that the city manager can sign anything he wants to. So I just, again, I thought that the better practice was to bring the specific agreement before the council, but again, the language would presume that the city manager can sign whatever he wants to. And I think that's how the mayor construed it.
Well, you know, if that being the case, if it's ambiguous, then, you know, my recommendation would be, let's try for more clarity in the future. I mean, if it needs to come back to the council, it needs to say it will be brought back to council.
I think that definitely, anytime there's a contract, I think we should come back and vote on
Yeah, you put that in the motion, Mayor.
No, it's just a matter of, that's what we ought to do in the future. I think, you know, if it needs to come back before the council, it needs to say in the resolution, it's going to come back to council.
So where do we stand now? Mr. Mayor?
I'm of the opinion, and this is my opinion, that council voted to have the city manager enter into an agreement based on the proposal Retail Strategies gave to us, with the stipulations that we voted on specifically to include. That would be the cancellation clause. I think we're done. That's my opinion.
Well, I would agree with your opinion. Personally, this council voted almost a year ago, I guess it's been now, maybe even 2 years, I don't know, I've lost track of time, voted on the words of individuals, and we gave them $4 million to do a project. On their word. And we're sitting here arguing over a 3-year contract that the first year is $48,000. If we're not happy, cancel it. And we don't owe them anymore. We're sitting here arguing over $48,000, or should I say $100,000, to bring in more development in here? Folks, that just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. We've already invested $4 million in this. I personally don't understand it. Andrew and Thad's job, they did not get hired for economic development. Yes, that has been on their resume prior to this point, but their job right now is not to bring in economic development. It is to run the day-to-day operations of this city. And it would not be fair to them or to the citizens of East Ridge to put unnecessary burden and added responsibility on them that they don't have time for.